Welcome to Sipping with Maria and Tika G. We got to pay these bills, so let go. Here's a word from our sponsors. Anchor has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. When hosted on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more.
It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And best of all, Anchor is totally free.
Whoop whoop!
Boop! Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started
Today. Welcome to Sipping with Maria and Tika G, where we do not talk about religion, politics, or celebrities. We feel like there's enough blogs, and other podcasts that talk about that stuff. Welcome to Season 2. Let's talk about it. We picked this topic so our listeners can feel comfortable with coming to our platform to express themselves without feeling like they're being judged. We have some new guests on the show. Tika, would you like to introduce our guests?
Yes, of course. Today we have Kalisha, Tomeka, and Chrystal. How you guys doing?
Welcome, ladies. Would y'all like to tell us the topic for today?
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm excited about this topic. This is Chrystal, by the way, but I'm really excited about this topic, autism, because it's near and dear to my heart, because I do have a 12-year-old that has autism. So looking forward to talking to everyone about it.
Welcome, Chrystal. And Miss Kalisha, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, my name is Kalisha Mitchell. I'm the founder of and CEO of Brighter Side to ASD. It's an autistic nonprofit I started in 2015, and it was to create a platform and to highlight the brighter side of living with autism. My son Jaquan is on the spectrum, and he just turned 27 last Tuesday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
And Miss Tomeka, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, hi, this is Tomeka Gatling, and I am a part of Brighter Side to ASD. I do volunteering, coordinating, and a little bit of fundraising sometimes. And so I am here, even though I do not have a child with autism. I work with kids all the time. It was just something that I wanted to be able to talk more about, or able to learn more about, to be able to interact with kids with autism without making them feel uncomfortable.
Welcome, Tomeka. Thank you. So today's topic is let's talk about autism. Miss Kalisha, can you please take over?
So yes, today we'll be talking about autism. Just talking a little bit about the organization, the reason behind the organization. I started the organization again in 2015. And again, it was to highlight what they have the ability to do. There's a stigma around autism. You know, my son came from a different era of autism, because it's really a different era. He was diagnosed in 1998. And so compared to, how children are going to get diagnosed, the different steps that they have to take, early intervention, all those things made a difference in Jaquan's development, and just trying to get an understanding of autism. A lot of people kind of go to what they can't do and what they're not able to do. And a lot of times I think people just don't understand just how their brain works. They're very, very special children. They're very special, human beings. I kind of say they're a different type of human being. They're the kind that, Jaquan, like my son, with him being 27, he's able to read, he's able to write, but he still reads kind of on a 3rd, 4th grade level. So just to kind of, like where his mind is, his living skills are very strong, which is what they consider the fine and gross motor skills. But his cognitive is definitely delayed. So that's where you have a delay in learning. So they'll be classified as intellectually delayed or developmentally delayed. So just dealing with, what I had to, all the steps and the techniques and just what I had to do to raise him, and to get into adulthood, dealing with the school system. I just wanted to be able to offer parents some support, being able to be a voice, for a lot of my parents who, don't have the ability to get out here and take on this system, the way that I have, just to understand the system. So you just out here, just really trying to get the awareness, continuing to collaborate, create these events that they typically wouldn't be a part of. Just continuing to try to grow a village of understanding for autism.
Thank you, Miss Kalisha. Now, Chrystal, you also have a son that has autism. Can you tell us your story, please?
Yeah, sure. I definitely can. By the way, Kalisha, I love your organization. I think that's great that there's, something there in place, because it wasn't a lot of support when I was, initially starting out with Avery. So it's good to know that you have that in place. So I just want to speak on that. But as far as no problem. But as far as my journey, I wanted to say, gosh, Maria, I think Avery was like 3 when I found out. I had him at a daycare. It was like just a private little daycare. And what was happening was he would just have moments where he would always be crying. He didn't want anybody to touch him. And these are the type of things that, when a child has autism, these are some of the things that are symptoms they may have. And he just didn't want anyone to touch him at all. He didn't like standing close to other people, things like that. There was even a time too where I was at home and he was just crying so bad, and it was just uncontrollable. And the police had actually came to my house. One of the neighbors had called the police on me. I guess they thought that I was, doing something to my child. And this is way before I had even known what was going on. And it got so bad to the point where I just was having breakdowns myself. And I'm like, am I going to be able to even keep my job? That's what I was asking myself. Am I going to be able to work, or am I going to have to stay home with my, with my son? Because it got so bad to the point where he was having these, moments of just not wanting anybody to be near him. And I guess it was hard for him to express himself and communicate. So anyhow, I was like, I got to do something and figure out what's going on. So that's when I did take him to the doctor to be seen. And his doctor was at CHKD. His name is Governor Northam, actually. So Dr. Ralph Northam, he actually diagnosed Avery with autism. I'm like, that was my first time ever hearing about it. I'm like, what is autism? Is this something that can be cured? I didn't know a thing about autism at all. So I'm one of those nerds. I'm like, okay, let me Google, let me figure this out. What can I do? I want to get rid of this thing. That's how I was looking at it. Is this a disease that I can get rid of? And I'm I'm laughing at myself, because that's just how I was, just trying to, if there's a problem, I just want to find a fix. So that's how I was. So I was like, let me figure this thing out. And finally, he was just like, Chrystal, there's no cure for it. But there's things that can be done to, to help. And he was like, if I were to diagnose Avery, I would say that he is, that he has Asperger's. So my son, he is on the spectrum, but he is actually very high functioning, but he has a difficult time sometimes relating to others socially. And through his behavior. So as soon as I found out, I'm like, let me figure out what I could do. So there were times where I would, look into certain therapies that they had going on. And a lot of this was just me researching, because it wasn't like my doctor, said, Chrystal, this is what you can do. I was like, I'm going to take it in my own hands and see what I can do, because he really didn't give me much information up front. But he was just telling me hey, we can get him an IEP, things like that to help so he can have time. But what I ended up doing was I got him into what they call behavioral therapy. So we started with that. So that way they can kind of just help him to understand certain things. Even the expression of it's raining like cats and dogs. He would think that it was really cats and dogs raining outside. To him, he didn't understand that that's just an expression, Mm-hmm. So it was just certain things like that. Then even with his speech therapy, because he wouldn't make eye contact with others. So he would, wouldn't look at you. He might be talking, but not looking at you. So that was another thing I did. So behavioral, I would say speech, and then also occupational therapy. Those were like 3 therapies that I had him in. And I did this like over the course of like maybe from the age of 3 up until, what about 10? It was about maybe 10. And now I'm just trying to tell you, this boy, he's so different. It's almost like you won't even know that he, is autistic. Like he's on, ABA, meaning like the honor roll, ABA honor roll, so he's doing so good, you couldn't even realize or know. And my thing was, I just was like, I don't want him to be treated any different. So I just made sure like, that I just stayed on top of those type of things. And now that I'm talking about the situation, I just realized too, another thing that used to get Avery upset was like different noises and sounds. And so what the doctor wanted to do was let him wear headphones all day.
Yeah, Jaquan wears headphones even now. Yeah, that's that sensory. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's that sensory thing. So they wanted him to wear headphones all day, and I was like, I can't have Avery wearing headphones. I know that it does help, but I was just like, I can't let this go on too much longer. So pretty much I just took the headphones from him, and I was just like, I want him to be able to, just be able to cope in society without that. Like, so if he hears different noises and sounds, I wanted him to get used to it. So now it's a lot better because, we would go into Walmart. He was like, he hears sounds and noises, he'd be having a fit. Now we can go in there and walk around the store, without a problem. So I'm just thankful, that there's programs like Kalisha that's out there and different therapies, because I know, my Avery's grandma, she was just like, Chrystal, I didn't even know nothing about it. She was like, my son, he might have had it and I didn't even realize, or her nephew, somebody might have had it in the family, they didn't know of it. They said no one really talked about it back then. So now there's so many different resources now that we have, which I'm just very thankful for. But
they classified it as something different years ago. They classified it, that's where the what the LD students were, and the students that were in, the classes that only had 2-3 students in, autism has been around. I mean, there has been studies, and there have been groups of people that go back past the 17th, 16th century that were just an odd group of people. And it's a story about it was the wolf people, and this is kind of in Russia. It was a group of just odd people. They did not need heat. They did not need coats. They were able to adjust to the cold. And this was, like I said, the 16th, 17th century. So they realized that these odd groups of people throughout time, and that's why you have, their geniuses, and again, Jaquan came from a different time. He came from a time where ABA therapy, occupational therapy weren't what was the go-to as far as early intervention. They just kind of had them grouped in another class, because he got diagnosed in North Carolina. And even like now when people ask me what's his level, because now they have levels with autism, and I'm like, he's just autistic. Even right. Autism spectrum disorder, that didn't really come into play until about 2008, 2009. That's kind of when you started getting a broader spectrum, and they started going into, but even autism spectrum disorder, that's old as well. The person that came up with and actually noted and named autism, his name is Asperger's, and that was back in the 30s and 40s, So it's been around. They're just a special group of people, like Chrystal was saying, those are what those, like they say, those mile markers when when your child is grown up crawling, eye contact, whether they can say your name, whether or not, your child responds to you. Those are the things you kind of notice. I noticed that with Jaquan, because he wasn't born with it. I tell people he was not born with this disorder. He was talking just fine. He was walking, he was singing. Jaquan was doing everything a typical 1-year-old, 1.5-year-old was doing. And in around 16, 17 months, everything kind of started changing, and like now, Jaquan wouldn't be considered at that high level because of his behavior. He also has a mental piece, which is bipolar, so a lot of them that are on a higher functioning level, they deal with a lot of social anxieties more than anything. They can draw a map in 10 minutes of the whole United States of America, no problem, but they won't be able to look you in your face and be able to tell it to you, so they're just special. They're just special altogether. They really are.
Miss Kalisha, how old was your son when you found out that he did have autism? Was it the 1 and 1.5 years old when you found out, or was it later?
Well, he was diagnosed. He didn't get his diagnosis until 3, but I started seeing the symptoms after he turned like 15 months. So after he received his 15-month shots, that's just where I felt like something had just happened to my son, and I had Jaquan when I was 16 years old. So of course, by the time he started getting closer to 2, it was like something's not right. Like, he's not talking anymore. Like, why does a child go from talking to not talking? And my mom like, girl, he just fine. He ain't nothing but going through them terrible twos. Like, you young, you don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, nah, yo, something not right with my baby. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was able to sing The Lion King all the way through. He was able to run around. We used to stay by Broadfield Park. He'd go up and down that slide, no problem. And then all of a sudden, it was literally like, I can't even step my foot up on the stair. I don't know how to. You know what I'm saying? So,
Kalisha, do you feel like it was the medicine?
I feel like it was the vaccinations. I feel like it was something in the vaccines. And again, they put so many preservatives, and a lot of the vaccines are mercury based. So I just feel like, every child is different. That's just like every human. Like, we're supposed to actually eat according to our blood types. So if that's the case, then how do I know that my son wasn't allergic to something that was either in the vaccine or and his body reacted to it, so and they won't, of course, admit to it. That's just the government and all these vaccines and everything that goes with that. But when you talk to the parents will tell you different. You know what I'm saying? And every case is different. Not everyone can kind of see it early in their child, so every case is different, because all of them are different. Like Chrystal's son, he's on a higher level of functioning, honor roll in school. He can excel so far as long as those supports are in place for him to deal with, and those coping mechanisms. That's the key, the coping mechanisms. So like Chrystal said, taking him in the store, taking those earphones off, it gives him the ability to take in and hone in on these. I'm telling you, man, these kids are geniuses. They really are. Like, their sound and their ability to hear and see is it's different, and nobody can understand it. You have to be around them to really see it and understand it.
I agree with you. I say that all the time. I know a few people that's have autism, and they are freaking smart. I have a cousin that can take anything apart and be in little teeny pieces and put it back together in no time. And you be looking at him like, okay, like, he fixed the washing machine that was quote unquote was told could not be fixed. He took that whole washing machine apart and put it back together with the same parts that was supposed to have been bad. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get to those kids, and I'm trying to get to those adults that have those skills, because a lot of those skills are hidden. They're not able to, because they can't deal with social situations. Right. So they don't get the opportunities. So that's why, I started the brighter side, because it was like, nah, man, my son was able to cook, prep. We volunteered in the community. He served people. He's not going to banter back and forth in conversation. They're not taking I told this one guy, this employer, I said, you want somebody on time that's going to come to work on time? You ain't got to worry about them coming up with no reason why they don't want to come to work. You want somebody they ain't got to take no cigarette breaks. You know what I'm saying? They ain't got, these are the individuals that
need to be a part of society.
Right, because they will work.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and that is very true. This is Tika G. I guess my background's a little different because I am a therapist, and so Kalisha, I'm glad that you have started this program, because now I get to tell some of my clients or my clients' parents about your program, the ones who may not know, because I have a few clients that have been diagnosed with autism, and basically how they were brought to me, most of the parents were saying, you know what, whether they're male or female, they're saying, I want my child to have a normal therapy experience. And I said, well, all therapy experiences with any individual is different. It's a different approach for everyone. And so they were like, oh, okay, well, my child has been diagnosed with autism. And just about all of them have said it is the social piece. And they said, how do I get my child to communicate? How do I, asking the same questions. How do I get my child to communicate? How do I get my child to do this, that, and the other socially? And I have found that because the parents, whenever I have therapy with a child, of course, there's a parent piece also, because they have to know what's going on and being able to implement whatever we're talking about in the home as well. So I've had found that some parents, just didn't know. They're like, I trying to talk to them like I talk to their other siblings or how I talk to other people, and they're not talking back. And so, finding out that they're giving the child too much information to download, or you were saying earlier, saying things that could have a different meaning to it, and the child just did not get it. And so, just teaching that whole communication piece has helped, because of course they're like, yes, there is ABA therapy, but at the same time they wanted them to have another therapy type of structure. So, but in that, with the structure, I also had to tell some parents, if their child had an issue with structure or appointments and things like that, to not really pinpoint when they're going to have an appointment, because if that appointment didn't happen, there was some destruction in the house.
Yep.
And so they were like, because they'll be like, oh, you're going to see Miss Tika tomorrow at 1:00, and if Miss Tika is sick and is cannot be at work for having a fever or something, well, there was the structure, and they were like, oh, well, I've been telling them about their schedule. I've been telling them what time the bus come at 8:31. The bus pulls up at 8:37. There's traffic, there's things that goes on.
Yeah.
And then
and that's the hard part. That's the hard part dealing with when the way their mind functions, it only functions in phases.
Right.
Like I tell people the best way I can describe, because when Jaquan was diagnosed, the doctor told me, she said Jaquan this young man, so she had just did her thesis on autism. This was a doctor in North Carolina, Dr. Riddick, Black doctor. I never forget it. And she looked at my son, and it didn't take her long, and she said, your son is autistic. Mm-hmm. And so we didn't know what the hell this daggone lady was talking about, you know what I'm saying? And so the way that they wanted us to structure, and the way that I'm like, I can't do that, you know what I'm saying? Because like I was, especially being young, it was so hard to be able to work off this precise schedule. But at the same time, it was like she said, he lives his life inside of a bubble. You have to figure out how to get inside that bubble. And so when I kind of just seeing children, it's like a carousel. You know how a carousel goes round and round and round and round and round and round? It goes around and round so fast. That is an autistic mind. It's going so fast, and while it's going, it's picking up everything, light, sound, everything is coming. And when you stop it, you got that moment to get any information and to get anything for them to take, and then it's gone again. So that's the best way I can explain it, because that's just how their mind goes, It never stops. It never stops.
Yeah, and that is a perfect way to explain it, because you could also picture or feel, the mind doing that. Yeah.
Yep. So. That's what it is. It's like, and when you stop them, that's just like my son. That's why you can't ask him 3 questions at one time. You can only ask him 1 question at a time. Let him process it. Let him think about what you just said. And then he'll go ahead and he'll follow through with the steps. But if you ask him, hey, where you going? Why are you over here? What you got in your pocket? That's the issues we have with them being adults. He's going to freeze up because you just asked him. You didn't even let him answer the first question,
Right. That's very true.
Yeah. This is Chrystal. I can relate with that, what you were saying, Kalisha, because, I had to do that with Avery. I only give him like 2 choices. That's it.
That's it.
And hey, do you want red socks? or white socks? Do you want black or white? I kept it simple because, like you said, it's almost like if you give them way too many options or do too much talking, it's too much for them to process. So that, I can definitely relate. And then when Tika was talking about just the scheduling, it just brought back, sometimes where it's like, with me and his dad, we co-parent, and there's days where, he would visit his dad for the weekend, or, that Friday, his dad would pick him up, and he's like, wait a minute, like, I have to tell Avery in advance, like, Avery, tomorrow your dad is going to come pick you up, because he would be expecting me to come get him, and it would just throw him off, and he would have a fit. He'll fall out on the floor and stuff. So it's like, definitely the scheduled day, it just made me think, like, you got to get them a heads up on what's going on, just so that way their day could go smoother, even with school, just letting them know, like, hey, you're going to be in this class. So they would also too give them like a schedule in class, let them know, like, this is when you're going to take lunch and PE or whatever you might be doing. So, but at the same time, like you were saying too, Kalisha, they're so smart, so it's like, especially when, Maria was talking about the putting all, taking the pieces apart and putting it together. So it just made me think about certain things that, Avery does, because he's like the same way. He's always on the computer, and I'm just like, it's unbelievable to me how they just pick up on stuff,
I did a lot of things.
I have a client that has 7, like, she plays 7 different instruments, and she really, really talks about, the instruments, her concerts and things like that. And I allow her to, express all of that to me. I may just ask a basic question, like, hey, you have a concert that you're getting ready to have, and she'll just start smiling, and then she'll talk about all of the instruments, what she's going to be doing, and all those things like that. But it's the whole thing of the, that's really something that she enjoys, and she can just pick up anything and just start playing it, and it's just so, just like you guys said, genius. It's just to be able to do that.
I taught Jaquan a lot with music and movement and sound, because again, I had him when I was young, so it was like, I don't know what time you think I'm gonna do it, because I was all over the place. I was on 1,000, you know what I'm saying? I dealt with my own mental issues, you know what I'm saying? I dealt with bipolar, so I could not deal with, I was here, there, like, when I say let's go, we had a specific song, and it was like roll out. It was like boom, 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 roll out. I'm like, all right, Buddha, come on, let's roll out. You know what I'm saying? And it was just certain things that I would do, and just like now, even still to this day, he just watches me. He knows my every movement. I don't have to do much, and he can just fall in line, So I did a lot with music. He did a lot with sound. I remember I did, I remember that movie, The Color Purple. That's my movie right there. And so I did with the labels on the door, and, trying to get him to speak, just to get his basics, because that's all I really needed him to learn was his basics. I didn't need to force him. It's just like, now he's not really good at counting money. He just can't get it. We go over it 1,050 million times, and something just doesn't click for him to remember it. Like, even with his address, we can say it 1,000 times, but it's just something just doesn't click. But he can cook, he can clean. He's in such a a routine when it comes to order, and like his daily is like, it's nothing you can do when it comes to that, you know. So it's just finding their skill and finding their greatness is what we have to do as parents, and just the community to support.
And that is very true, and finding the greatness of it, you know, of everyone. And but I do believe that all of you being on tonight is really, you know, also a teaching tool as well, or it could be also a support system. You know, I'm sure there are parents listening there, you know, that are frustrated and listening to you all and hearing your stories and what you guys do. You know, it could really be helping someone or supporting them. So that's why I do appreciate all of you guys for being on and telling your stories, and especially with you, Kalisha, even starting from the beginning, and you know, because most people don't even know when the autism had started. They're just like, oh, I don't know, it just popped up, and you know, just trying to roll with it, you know. But you're telling the story of, you know, when it happened and how it happened and how much it has advanced with the whole therapy and things like that. So.
Man, so much research. I did a presentation a couple weeks ago for the Episcopal Church, and I mean, I'm ready to go back to school. I'm ready to go back to school because it was just so much information, and of course I had to make the presentation basic. But I mean, and even still, all the information that they have, which is so much more than what I had, it's still very simple and very basic. It's still no cure. It's still, as far as no significant where it came from and how. It's just more research into the genetics and more research into the environment, you know. But it's a lot of information out there for parents, you know. Like Chrystal said, when her son was first diagnosed, she had the ability to go and find that information and find that research, you know. So I just really encourage parents to just educate yourself. You know, you can always start at the beginning. You can find information. You know, you're welcome to come into my support group, come into my Brighter Side family, because it's a journey. It's not easy. Chrystal will tell you, those first few years can be very difficult, you know, but that's what a Brighter Side to ASD. It is a brighter side to what they have the ability to do, and just the light that they bring into your lives, you know.
Miss Kalisha, let's talk more about the brighter side. What type of programs do you have for children with autism, or even adults with autism?
Well, since we're a nonprofit, I really work community based. I am working on just building more programs and getting classes. We have the family fun nights we do with the city of Hampton. With COVID just kind of getting out of everybody's way, we're kind of getting things back started. But you know, we do a yearly art show that highlights their art skills. It's an amazing show we do each year at the Newsom House. You know, and we've had classes that was building. I had a building skills through cooking class. We did monthly support group meetings. I mean, a few years ago, we were grinding. I mean, it was so much that we had revolving. Right now, it's just kind of getting back into the community now and just really getting to what the parents need. We do have the Sensory Sunday with Chuck E. Cheese that we do every first Sunday of the month. And then again, we just started the family fun nights with the city of Hampton. We just did the first one was the 22nd of April. We have another one coming up in July, and then we have another one coming up in October. And then we also have the Awesomely Autistic Art Show in Gala, which will be in October. And again, this show just highlights their art skills. They have the ability to do a talent show. We let them sing. I have babies that sing. They play their drums, the steel drums. I mean, they're just so amazing. I love them all so much. Those are my hearts. Every single one of them. I know my babies' families, you know, like I said, it's a family of what I'm trying to build, because I have so much that I want to build. It just takes time. It just takes time.
And if someone wanted to get in contact with you, Kalisha, get in contact with the Brighter Side, how would they be able to do that?
They can find us on Facebook, A Brighter Side to ASD Incorporated. We're on Instagram, Brighter Side #2 ASD. They can go to my website, www.brightersidetoasd.com. And I'm out there, you know, they can email me, brightersidetoasd@gmail.com. And, you know, I've been grinding for the last since 2015. So, you know, I'm gonna keep on grinding. You know, my Jaquan is, I said, just turned 27. And, you know, we have a village to build, you know, even when they get, you know, older and when they get grown, you know, like Chrystal, he's in school now. So like working on whether or not he's going to still need supports once he gets out of school, work programs and things like that, because school isn't going to put that stuff in place for you. You know what I'm saying? And that's what my parents struggle with a lot. It's what the schools and the information is not out there that we don't even know about. You know, long-term Medicaid waiver, you know, getting these children the supports that they need, because, you know, again, they could go off and they could be, I mean, Einstein. they could start splitting atoms. I don't know. There ain't no telling. But right. They have the ability to do so much. We just want the platforms to be there for them. That's my thing. You know, give my babies their time to shine.
My next question is for Tomeka. Tomeka, I understand that you're part of the Brighter Side organization also. So what is your position as far as what you do as far as the Brighter Side?
I am volunteer coordinator now. We are looking for volunteers that will come in and help with different programs that we have going on that we'll be starting back up. One being mainly our art show, being able to do different activities as far as if we have an event over here and we can't make every event. Like Kalisha is literally one person and she be trying to go from city to city and do these different events, and there's no way possible she can be in every city trying to do an event, because sometimes things end up on the same day. And so like if we have some really good volunteers, we would be able to actually, you know, be able to go and expose, bring a Brighter Side to different areas and tell people about our program and what we're offering and what we do. Like she said, we got the art show that's like one of our biggest events, and there we need volunteers. So I'm in charge of like trying to get volunteers out to come help. We also offer like because we're a 501c3, this can be used for their college. If college students are needing volunteer hours for school, we also have where the like tax purposes, as far as, if I'm not mistaken, Kalisha, you correct me if I'm wrong, like if they volunteer in their time, that can be used.
So the IRS pays for volunteer hours. So whatever the minimum wage is, and I actually think it's more than the minimum wage, but people can take advantage of, you know, you can file a 1099 each year off the hours that you work with a Brighter Side. But I want to talk about Tomeka real quick, because she asked about what Tomeka does. And Tomeka has been with me since I started a Brighter Side. Me and Tomeka met working with my girl Abyss, Latanya Wallace, in the community. And we were volunteers with Abyss. And then, you know, I mean, we grinded. And then when I decided to start a Brighter Side to ASD, she was my right hand. So I have to talk. She is my go-to for everything. So now we're putting her in a position as volunteer coordinator, because every event that we do, every meeting, it's not nothing that I can do without my girl Tomeka. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, like I said, she doesn't have any children, but she is my go-to, and she's been with me from the very first moment. And we done been through some hard times with a Brighter Side, you know, but she is amazing, you know. So I just have to make sure I pick up my girl and just shout her out for what she brings to a Brighter Side. And we're just trying to continue to build more, because I couldn't do without her. That's my baby.
Oh,
Thank
big up to you, Tomeka.
Right?
Look, Kalisha almost had me tearing up over here. Yeah, you were talking about all the things that you do, Tomeka, because sometimes we don't realize all the things that we do until somebody, because we're just going, we're just doing it.
Yes.
But to really recognize all the things that you do, wow, that is amazing.
Yeah. So, but thank you, Kalisha. Don't be trying to make me cry on the podcast, girl. But I appreciate. I appreciate you no matter what. Like, I already knew, because I told her, okay, so like she said, we been through some hard times. So hard times sometimes it's like me and Maria, like we have our we're not agreeing on the page. I'm like, look, you are now my sister, because we done been through way too much at this point. And it's like,
right.
I am always here to get on her nerves. That is my full goal, is to get on her nerves. Okay.
Yeah, she be like, I'm getting on your nerves today. I'll be like, okay, we're gonna work this out. But I love the program. I like working with kids, of course. I drive school bus child, and I love them kids too. It's different when you deal with the kids in the community. Let me say this: it's very different when you in a community setting and you're working with kids. But when you work with them for a living, it's way different, child. I think they was my form of birth control as to why I didn't have any of my own. And but when I work with the kids in the community and inside the group, it's so different. They're very more forthcoming. They're happy, and it was surprising to me when I started working with the organization, because I didn't think that they would warm up to me in any kind of way, but they did, and I was like, oh,
everybody loves Miss Tomeka. Miss Tomeka is, everybody loves Miss Tomeka. If she's not there, and trust and believe, if she's not there, at least 15-20 minutes into the event, I'm like, God damn it, where's Tomeka at?
Yes. So, but yeah, no, we definitely, so then trying to get back to what I'm doing. So we are going to be doing we're doing some fundraising or whatever, because we're coming up on big events and everything like that. So that's like part of something that I do help do now, until we, get back onto that, some other things that we need to do with that. But I just, I'm right now a volunteer coordinator, and I just want to see if I can get more people to come out and to see their community and see what's going on with it. And appreciate, thank you too. Okay. And see what's going on with our community and get to know our kids, and not, make fun or not because you don't understand it. It's not what you want to do. So I really want people to see that more, as to why I like to bring myself forth to the table and be able to tell people about it. I tell people all the time about it. Even at my job, when I be fundraising, I go there and I be like, look, I need y'all to come on for my babies for autism. They be really with it, and I love it. So I can't say nothing more about it.
Well, this is Maria, and my churn is grown, and my other two churn are fur babies. So I don't have a problem with volunteering.
Thank you.
I don't have a problem with that. Just let me know.
We need you.
Let me know what I need to do.
You can bring the fur babies too, honey. I love the fur babies.
They bad. This little one, girl, he's so verbal.
Oh no!
I'm coming to get him. I'm gonna work with him.
I have one. I have me a fur baby too, and she is definitely a handful.
Oh my God, they spoil rotten. I'm like, who did this to y'all? Everybody pointing their finger at me.
Yes, you did.
I have one last question for whoever can answer it. Do you feel that because I know, Kalisha, you had mentioned Medicaid waiver earlier. Do you feel that it is still some challenges with the Medicaid waiver, or because I know a lot of parents were complaining before about the Medicaid waiver, the community services boards and things like that, trying to issue them out, putting on a waiting list and things like that. Do you feel that in 2022 that's still an issue?
Chrystal, well, your son is still younger, so have you dealt with the waiver or anything with the waiver?
Hey guys, can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. No, you know what? He is 12, and I haven't had to deal with the waiver, so that might be more towards Kalisha to answer.
So the thing about the waiver is something still that even with him being 12 years old, you still will want to look into. There's many lawsuits going on. From what I understand, they have cut down the list drastically. But there were lawsuits going on with the state of Virginia because the waiting list was 10, 15 years long. And again, this is not something that you're told about in school. The Medicaid system is jacked up. They change so many laws on a consistent basis. I'm a DSP. I do direct support professional for as well in-home support services for my son. The system is you have to know this system and navigate this system to be able to get the services that you need. Jaquan, I only waited 6 months to get his waiver because they had me all the way messed up. When I say I was kicking doors down his community services board, when my name popped up on the caller ID, they did not know who was going to take the call because they didn't want to deal with me. Because the way they left my son and the situation that once he became an adult, it was hideous. It was hideous. So we were able to get the waiver, but so many parents struggle, you know. But there's ways to get it. Some people just you gotta know how to get it, you know. It's wording, it's different things. Chrystal, I would definitely recommend, you know, even if he's on a higher level of functioning, you just never know what's gonna happen when that puberty sets in. So you definitely might want to look at getting him registered with the Community Service Board and getting him on the waiver list, or you can reach out to Moms in Motion and they'll help you with getting him at least on the list, because it's definitely for those long-term supports once they become adults.
Yeah, I was going to let you know. I mean, he is on the list and he's been on there for so long.
Good.
So I did get that in place. It's just I haven't, you know, heard anything. So it's like you said, it's been years.
So that's the thing about it, is make sure he stays on that list. And
they send it to me every year and I have to like sign off on it.
Right. And you make sure you stay updated with his work, when his behaviors changes or anything. Because if he gets on medication or anything, that can put him, especially if a mental piece comes into play. That's what a lot of people don't realize. You can't just get it with them just being autistic.
Yeah, like you said, it's definitely the wording, you know, and what they need. And I think that plays a lot, you know, with it. Like if they feel like there's not really a need for your child to have it, they'll bypass you. So the thing about the seriousness and the urgency of the waiver and getting that waiver is when I was waiting on Jaquan to get the waiver, and Tomeka can go back at that time. That was like 2016, 17, and what we were going through at that time. And he was just having really, 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 really violent episodes. So again, it's a mental piece that played a part, you know. But yeah, it's a game. When I say this system is a game of chess, it's a game. And I know how to play. You have to know how to play their game. And that's why what I've been trying to get to my parents to understand, that's one of the reasons why we have to go to school, get licensing, get certifications, and get the things that we need to educate our children, ABA, occupational, teachers licensing, all of that, because we can't beat them. We got to find a way to join them. And that's creating the businesses and becoming providers in that system. You know what I'm saying? That's the only way you can get it, for real.
I want to thank Kalisha, Tomeka, and Chrystal for coming on the show. I have learned a lot. Like they stated, the Brighter Side is looking for volunteers. And Kalisha, one more time, can you tell us how to get in contact with you, including your phone number, so the listeners can get in contact with you, especially for those who want to volunteer and those who have children that they want to put into the program as well?
Yes, definitely. Because I work with a lot of organizations. Like I have Smart One that we work with. They do a lot of the recreational events. And again, we're getting things back started. So, you know, we can definitely use more volunteers, more parents. You can reach me. You can find me on Facebook, A Brighter Side to ASD Incorporated. I have a closed group and a public page that you can follow. You can send me messages through that outlet. You can email me, brightersidetoasd@gmail.com. You can go to my website, which is www.brightersidetoasd.com. And you can also find me on Instagram, it's brighter, 2 ASD. I don't be up there that much.
Thank you, Miss Kalisha. Again, thank you, Tomeka and Chrystal, for being on the show. Sipping with Maria.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it so much. And again, we have the art show coming up. We are going to be looking for sponsors. October 8th, we will be doing an Awesomely Autistic Gala. Trust, I got one of the best event planners in Hampton Roads putting it together. This going to be a night. We've been doing the art show since 2015, and I'm rolling out the red carpet for my babies this year. So it's going to be amazing.